Hello and welcome. My name is Valdis from Distributor, and I'm joined here with George Lantouris from Schneider Electric. Today we'll be going through APC's EcoStruxure offering and everything that can help our customers provide, do, support, assist with. George.
Yeah, look, just to set the scene, I suppose, what we have seen is the market itself has changed after the pandemic. We have an environment now which we're terming more around hybrid IT. That's a combination effectively of customers having compute in cloud, in colo, and also the edge. What we do know is that there's an opportunity definitely in the growing edge market, and that's partly where we're going to mainly focus around during this session. Just to set the scene around that, what we do know is that there's going to be a lot more devices really hitting the web, available, and what that means is that we're seeing the customers are really having a lot more challenges around security threats. We also see as the edge itself is growing, we're finding that we need to address the edge more efficiently, and how do we actually manage devices really in the edge folders. So that what we're seeing is that especially after the refresh, or I should say after the pandemic, we're seeing a lot more customers doing a hardware refresh, whether that's compute, network, storage, all of that is basically leading to a refresh, which also ties into the area of critical infrastructure. So I think most people on the call will understand from an APC point of view, we're very much focused around the critical infrastructure, which is around critical power, critical cooling, the environmentals of the infrastructure that we have. So that's where our software really targets that environment. The other part to have a think about is our customers really, when I'm talking about customers, really end users, are really focused around digital transformation, because they see that that's an area of growth for them. In fact, the market itself is seeing digital transformation as a major advantage as they grow their business. So that's again what's driving part of the compute and that refresh happening more and more. So the opportunity when we start to look at this is where partners have got the opportunity to turn around and address this part of the market. Okay, so whether you're a partner which basically really sells our hardware, or additional to the hardware, please look at the software and we'll give you some more interactions here of why the software and what the benefits are of the software. The other aspect is also for MSPs. There's an opportunity here for MSPs to add the critical infrastructure monitoring into their offering and increase their recurring revenue. And that's a huge advantage for MSPs as we move into the future.
Yeah, for sure. So there was a lot of information there, but if we wanted to break it down, what are the key challenges within this that we need to look at?
Sure. Okay. What we're seeing here is that the key challenges from a hybrid IT is very similar to what we've had for many, many years, which is, prevent downtime. And the critical infrastructure is really to do that. If you don't have power, it doesn't matter what you've done at the compute level. If there's no power, then you've lost your application. So that's one of the key reasons why UPS and cooling is provided. All right. The other part that we're seeing is the edge itself, and when we start to look at the pandemic, what happened is that we had a lot of people working from home. Okay. The issue was, as we're increasing the edge environment, how do we actually monitor that environment? Okay, because literally we couldn't have people going out to all of these different sites. So this is really one of the key reasons why software and the increase in the deployment of software in the EcoStruxure side of things has actually come more to the forefront. The other part to think about is that we know that there are, in customer environments, there's multiple vendors always that are going to be involved in that side of it. So we've not only got to be able to monitor APC product, we've also got to be able to monitor our competitors' products. So our software is very much around vendor agnostic and making sure that we can cover all of those three environments: the cloud, the hybrid IT, the edge, the on-premise types of environments all need to be covered via the software, and the ability to be able to have the coverage across all of those environments with limited staff.
So you keep talking about software. So what can APC do to address these issues?
Right, okay, all right. So really what we have developed, we've been in the business of monitoring critical infrastructure for the last 15 years. And what we've coined, we started off really, the core of APC really was having software effectively with a UPS and be able to shut down that software gracefully. So that's how far back we started, and that was at Novell, right? So that's the core of what we've done. What we have developed further to that is, DSIM 3.0, which is really where we are today. Okay? And the big difference today is that we're now able to leverage the cloud. The cloud has been able to give us the advantage of AI, big data analytics effectively, and the products that we're starting to look at here. The base product that we're addressing in the cloud is what we call EcoStruxure IT Expert. We're going to focus very much around that IT Expert platform, and also some services that we can add. If partners or MSPs don't have a NOC, we can do that particular type of network operations center and monitor that critical infrastructure for them, so that they don't have to have a large infrastructure or a lot of cost added into their environment.
Yeah, take that people cost out.
Absolutely, that's right. And we can provide that, and we can provide that really as a service. Obviously there's a cost involved, but there's minimal cost when you start to look at the overall capabilities that we have. So the next part to that is when I start to look at the platforms that we have both a cloud platform and an on-premise platform that we use. Okay, so a lot of customers, when we start to look at this, are very much adverse to cloud. Okay, they may also have already infrastructure which is on-premise. Okay, so in our products, what we're doing is we're keeping both cloud and on-premise being developed on an ongoing basis.
As you said, you guys are looking after critical infrastructure.
Absolutely.
And as soon as you start talking critical, people start getting very worried around security.
That's correct. So what we're tending to find is that there are core customers, and typically that's like government, if I put it that way, and they're very risk averse. They're sticking to that on-premise side of things. Yeah. Whereas in the more enterprise, the SMB, the middle environment effectively of the marketplace, okay, they're tending to adopt the cloud more and more. So IT Expert is the product that we have in our cloud, okay, whereas Data Center Expert, which has been around for over 10 years, Data Center Expert is really our on-premise solution, and both of those products will be developed further into the future. The other piece is that that's very much around the monitoring part of our business, where we have customers which have got on-premise data centers, okay, and they've got a large footprint in the white space. Okay. We also have what we call IT Advisor. IT Advisor is used more around the planning and modeling of data centers, and those two, IT Expert and IT Advisor, can link together to give you an overall platform to be able to look at your critical infrastructure in both edge and also in your data center environment. So that's really where we're at from a product point of view, and emphasizing here both the on-premise and the cloud environment will be developed more and more.
Yeah. So how does it actually monitor on the edge?
Yeah, so look, in the edge environment, where traditional monitoring has been happening, it was really very much around on-premise. Okay? the benefits now is that we're able to leverage the cloud. I'll repeat some of the stuff, and this is where the difference really comes in. Okay, what we really are able to do now with the cloud is leverage the AI, the big data analytics. Okay, and the big difference for us is the reporting capabilities. Okay, and the ability for us to leverage the monitoring 24/7 of the critical infrastructure. What that means really is that previously what we had is an environment that we were always reflecting upon in the past. Okay, so if we're using what happened, okay, what we can do now is we're looking at more the predictive analytics of what will happen in the future, and how do we ensure that we avoid downtime, okay, via that predictive analytics. We'll go into a little bit further about what that really means from a predictive analytics, and it's also about prescriptive analytics. But the key advantage here is the cloud. Okay, what we have is by leveraging the cloud, it's a subscription model, so it makes it a lot easier effectively to get into this environment. It's a very low cost entry. It's a pay-as-you-grow environment as well. And we look after all the cyber analytics as well. Right? So the application being in the cloud, we provide all of that, the administration around it. It makes it easy for partners to get involved. They literally just pay for a subscription. Okay. The other part is that we leverage, okay, the ability to deploy cyber security and any updates in this. So I'll go a little bit further into that as we go forward. But the key advantages when we start to look at IT Expert and the capabilities that we have is you can access this application being in the cloud. Okay, you can access it from anywhere. It's a centralized application that we have in Microsoft Azure, and the application then can be delivered from your desktop via a web interface. It can also be delivered via, let's say, your smartphone, so it makes it available from that point. The advantages here is that we can also do benchmarking of a customer infrastructure and compare it to our big data that we have, which is a global outline of all of the devices that are there. And we can compare a customer's environment to that big data and show them, you know, temperature comparisons. We can show them if there's a bug that's been deployed. We can drill into that and bring that to the face of the customer very quickly.
Yeah, APC have been in the business so long, that lake of data they've got on
That's
existing
right.
infrastructure,
Yeah.
there's nothing new really.
Yeah, look, the new part is that it's now happening in the cloud,
data,
okay? And it makes it so much easier for us to manage that, and it lowers the cost. The smarts also make a difference. So as we said earlier on, you know, with the pandemic, what's tended to happen is we've got people have moved really jobs, okay? A lot of customers have actually lost a lot of experience. What this software does is it brings a lot of this knowledge straight to the customer's fingertips, and they don't necessarily need to have a lot of experience in the critical infrastructure space. So Edge is an environment that we're targeting definitely in this environment as we move. The other part is, I'll repeat a couple of things, all right? If we are vendor agnostic. The other aspect is security assessments, okay, and reporting on the infrastructure. We do know that our competitors are also in this space. What else is news? Okay. What I can say is where we differ, and the differentiation is around the reporting that we can do. Examples around that are things like battery wear. So when we start to look at the reporting that we're able to do, yeah, and we can basically, because we're monitoring our devices 24/7 in an APC environment specific, yeah, we can assess and we can predict how long the battery within a UPS is going to last.
I've actually had that on one of my devices where it emails you and says battery needs replacing
That's correct. So what that does is that with that proactivity, effectively, that comes into the environment, saves customers outages. Okay. So as long as we've got the ability to be able to give that information to a customer, but it's also an opportunity for partners and MSPs because they're involved in that process and they get that information.
And it's that whole, you're in front of the customer before it becomes an issue.
Absolutely. Okay. So if you can go to a customer and save them a situation where their critical infrastructure won't actually deliver what it was promised, all right, because the battery itself hasn't been replaced, that's where you're going to get stickiness with a customer. Rather than walking in and basically saying, okay, we have an outage, or we had an outage 2 days ago, the issue was the battery should have been replaced. You know, that's come and gone. We should be able to go into a customer now and say, your battery is going to need to be replaced. It should be replaced in the next 6 months, yeah? And therefore we save an outage to a customer. That's a huge value. We still get the battery replacement, but it's a huge value to the customer because we've been able to save an outage for them.
Yeah. Like what's a day's worth of work cost rather than
absolutely. Well, look, it could be a day's work if you're talking about an edge environment, but if we save a customer an outage in one of their on-premise data centers, okay, that's an outage which could impact hundreds, thousands of people.
Yeah.
So that's a key environment that we need to be talking about.
Right.
So one of the things that we should be really talking about also is who do we target with this? Who are these applications? What are the environments that effectively we should be targeting so that effectively partners can have a target audience to think about? Definitely what we're seeing, the early adopters in the cloud environment are organizations like healthcare, right? Whether it's hospitals, whether it's the doctor, surgery, etc., we've got different types of solutions that can be targeted towards that. Even retail stores. Okay? Retail stores now are deploying significant smarts in security, in the area of development of delivery of whether it's clothing, making that image really across a customer as they walk in and being able to support them. So a lot of technology is going into retail stores as well. Telehealth effectively is driving that healthcare as well. So that support from a compute point of view is really very much driving those refreshes as well. So keep that in mind. You know, how do we address customers that are in these environments and the early adopters, because they're the ones that we can actually talk about around the critical infrastructure. And if you're also in the business of delivery of those compute environments, then that allows you to be ahead of the curve. And if you can be there, then you can support a total package to a customer.
Yeah, you mentioned that you had different levels of customers. So obviously, like a large hospital is going to have a different product than a doctor's surgery, just from the number of devices that would be there.
Absolutely. So a perfect example there is that this is why in the solution that we're talking about with IT Expert, yeah, we have a network management card which allows us to connect that UPS right across the enterprise, yeah, through the WAN, through the network effectively, etc. And it is targeted for, you know, 10s, 20s of UPSs and above, right? So when we start to, we'll talk a little bit more about how we package those up a little bit further on, but in a very simplistic approach as well, where we have a doctor's surgery, yeah, that cost of maybe that infrastructure is not, it may be a bit heavy-handed effectively for them. So what we do have is we also have IT Expert connected to what we call Smart Connect. Now, both of these solutions are available through Distributor. With the Smart Connect, it doesn't offer as a feature-wide environment as the IT Expert. However, it's a low-cost entry, and they can also upgrade. So we have a more lower cost environment for the UPS with Smart Connect, and it's literally connecting via a blue cable to that environment, which doesn't cost really anything. It's literally built into the UPS.
Yeah, but that one, I've used that one myself, and that's more, it's monitoring rather than management.
Absolutely, and that's where the big difference is, all right? So, if you want to use IT Expert, the benefits here are, you can roll out firmware updates, you can do those UPS security updates, okay? Configuration updates effectively are all done via that IT Expert platform. Whereas, if you've only got 3 or 4 UPSs within a doctor's surgery, literally you could do that hands-on as well. So depending on which customer base you are looking at, we have a slightly different platform to work with. So those vulnerability assessments is one of the key advantages that we're also seeing with the IT Expert platform. I'll go into a little bit more around that. What does it mean? What we can do here is we're monitoring those UPSs 24/7. When we acknowledge that there is an update that needs to be rolled out, and there's cyber security challenges happening every day here. Okay. What we can do is you can literally just go into the platform, you can run a very quick report, and it will tell you the vulnerabilities of your UPSs that are out there, and runs a report basically telling you what type of vulnerability you have, what patches you need to roll out, yeah, and it literally can roll those firmware updates for you, or the config updates. So the platform itself gives the whole capability to roll out those security updates and assess the vulnerabilities. The other aspect, which is a big differentiator, is again the battery wear report that we can do. What we can do is from the platform itself run a quick report, and it will basically give us a scorecard of all the UPSs that a customer has, and gives them a scorecard from out of 100. Okay, we'll give them a very high score, a very low score, depending on 3 or 4 factors. The factors are how old the UPS is, how old the battery is, of course, they all impact, which we could do really from the on-premise type of solutions that we have. But because now with cloud, we're monitoring the battery temperature 24/7, what that does is that it allows us to really predict how long the battery is going to last.
Because that's one of the biggest
Absolutely.
impacts on battery life is what environment's in.
Yeah, and not only that, how many times the battery has actually gone through a cycle. So the more you cycle the battery, the older the battery gets, and the temperature, if it's above what it should be, which it should be closer to about 25 degrees, anything above that will actually lower the life, the longevity effectively of that battery.
And if you're expecting 15 minutes for graceful shutdown and your battery's only going to give you 5,
then that's where your problems start to come in. So the key piece when you are looking at it from a partner point of view, if you can take that report to your customer base and talk to them about that side of it, okay, and the report literally is just a printout, and because all the smarts are in the AI, literally that gives you a heads up with a customer to be able to be that type of advisor in
also,
that
we
critical
need to be
infrastructure.
environmentally friendly. You don't need to print anything out. Just
Oh yeah, no problems. Okay, so it can be PDF, and you can take that with you really as a soft copy
the
as well.
the scorecard's easy. If it's saying red, critical,
Absolutely.
look at it. If it's
Yeah.
green, maybe next year.
Yeah. And look, the dashboard allows us also, the IT Expert also gives us a dashboard which basically can be seen globally. You can drill down effectively into various countries as you need to, and it identifies where the critical issues are.
If you're a multinational, so it's
Absolutely.
got that capability to
Yeah.
theoretically be as big as required. But if
Yeah.
you're only small, say Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane or something, you can at least zoom in.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Look, the dashboard allows you effectively to look at Australia and identify where your critical infrastructure is within Australia. So even though it's a global tool and we use this globally, you can drill down and you can see, if you've got UPSs in the city, in Sydney, or in Parramatta, or at Dubbo, all those locations really are visible within the dashboard. And if it's a green dot, effectively it's all good. If it's got red dots all over it, then, or they're all the critical failures that are there. We also have an orange, so we have that traffic light type of system, which basically tells you where your critical stuff is, where your warnings are, and where things are good.
And the other thing I saw in the platform was that if you do have one of those critical alerts, you can then take that and assign it to somebody to.
Oh yeah. So this is I suppose where we take the next step. Okay, and if I look at customers like MSPs or partners that are into heavily more around the critical infrastructure, and they do maintenance for customers, or they actually do the servicing for customers. The assignment tool within the platform allows you to assign a critical fault to an individual which is responsible in that particular area for them to go and address the issue. And you can then run a report to tell you where are the critical incidents that they have been addressed, or how do we actually address those as well. So you can take that report again back on a monthly basis to your customer and show them effectively where you've had critical incidents and the costs associated to those.
But there's also another level of APC stepping in to assist, where there's the call center. So if there is one of these critical infrastructure issues,
yep,
the call center will call you and go, hi, your UPS in Parramatta has got a critical issue. What are we doing?
Absolutely. And this is that is the next step up really from the software platform. What we have is a network operations center, which is a global center, effectively. What we do with that is that network operations center, or if I call it a NOC, effectively, has people. So what we are selling now is the service of those specialists effectively in critical infrastructure. So they use the tool itself and they monitor the critical infrastructure. It's what we call, the service itself is what we call EcoStruxure Asset Advisor, right? And then you can attach effectively EcoStruxure Asset Advisor to a critical bit of infrastructure, and we monitor that 24/7. Okay. Based on what type of issues happen or alarms, then as we set up that particular service, we address how the KPIs or the warranty or whatever those service components that we've attached to that infrastructure, and we address those. Okay? Or it can be addressed back to the partner. So in a lot of cases, if we see there's a critical incident, we advise our field services team, and they basically go out to the customer site to meet the SLA that has been on that contract. Or it can be passed back to a third party. So remembering that we are vendor agnostic here, it could be that we pass that call to our competitors to go out and meet that SLA. Or it could be passed back to the partner, because the partner itself may have that maintenance. So the software itself is the enabler. The monitoring service, or the NOC that we have, gives that view from 24/7. Who goes out to the site can be addressed depending on how you want that infrastructure and EcoStruxure Asset Advisor to work.
So you APC basically that are covered from basic monitoring all the way to hands off, it'll get fixed.
Absolutely. So if you want to pass the responsibility to us, then you would have a contract for that asset, and we meet the SLA around that asset.
Depending on how risk averse.
Absolutely. And how much money, of course, what do you want to pay?
For sure.
The other part that we want to talk about is, I've spoken very much around critical infrastructure, yeah, and alarms that come from devices. The other thing to think about is the environment that these devices are sitting in. So we do have a series of products which allows us to monitor the environment. That product is really called NetBots, and it can basically monitor for temperature, for humidity, water leaks, open and closed
alarms,
doors, and things of that nature. So there's lots and lots of environmentals that we can monitor. For customers or partners that haven't got that type of knowledge, I would suggest speaking with either ourselves or people like Distributor have got a pre-sales team, which obviously Voldus is involved in. And what we'd suggest there is reach out to them, because they can put a solution around the environmentals and how we can use netbots, and we can monitor effectively netbots via IT Expert as well.
Yeah, and it adds to that whole UPS monitoring, where then your whole environment is monitored.
Yes.
Like you're saying, you can do water, smoke, alarms, video cameras to see who's coming in and out. It just adds another level of security to
Absolutely.
the environment.
Yeah, and there's a little bit more to that from that point of view, of course. So if you are needing that support from a pre-sales point of view, then it'd be a good thing to reach out to Distributor and the pre-sales team.
Yeah, there's a solution for anything.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing that I will maybe with just to address some of the technical parameters that we want to talk about here. And that's very much around how does IT Expert actually get monitored, and how does the data itself reach the cloud. Okay. So in an architecture point of view, what we have is an application which is it's called IT Gateway. Okay. That can be downloaded free of charge off the Apple Store, or depending on which type of environment you have. Okay, you can download that app.
Yeah, you can download an OVA for your environment and spin it up in there.
Yeah, so what you do is you download that application, you deploy it on the customer network. This is effectively an application which allows us, it does a self-discovery on the network, and you can basically set up certain parameters around where the IP addresses are, but it can do that self-discovery, and it goes out and captures and talks to those critical infrastructure components. Okay? And I'll repeat those. Ones like UPS, cooling, PDUs, whether they're rack PDUs or row PDUs. You can look at breakers depending on what type of breaker you have. But anything which is SNMP or Modbus could be monitored via this application. Once the self-discovery happens, then it basically grabs that information and starts to consolidate the information within the app itself, the gateway itself. It then encrypts the data, and as part of the setup, we open a one-way traffic to port 443, and we push that encrypted data up through port 443 to the cloud. Okay. Once that is in the cloud, that's then how we share that data via the web interface or the smartphone. Okay. And that is also where we push the data from there to our NOC, okay? And we can then provide that EcoStruxure Asset Advisor service as well. So that's a high level view of the architecture that gets used. I will point out that where we do have customers which have security concerns, okay, we can address a lot of those security concerns. If you go to EcoStruxure.com, okay, we do have a folder there which does have a lot of the information regarding security and how we address that in our platform. So that covers a lot of that information. Alternatively, you can come back to the pre-sales team within DICA or within our security team, our security team in EcoStruxure IT, and we can help you very much around that platform as well.
So you mentioned EcoStruxure, which provides a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of information that it can provide customers. But let's talk SMB, smaller end of the town, who don't need that full functionality of IT Expert. What can APC offer on that front?
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the Smart Connect product allows us effectively. They are UPSs that have Smart Connect. That is a very low cost entry into this monitoring that we have. It's mainly monitoring, as we've said earlier on. It is targeted for, I would suggest, customers which have got, up to 10 UPSs maybe, over a small campus, a small doctor's surgery, those type of medical centres, radiologists, things of that nature, which are fairly small number of UPSs. That Smart Connect is literally, it gets provided with the UPS, low cost, and then you can do a recurring revenue around that particular Smart Connect service, and then you get the first 12 months included in that package, and then from there you can add recurring revenue from there on. The other thing that we have done is really for those enterprise customers, we've also created a bundle, and what we call an ITE bundle, which are now available via Distributor, and you can choose UPSs really from 1 kVA up to 5 kVA, and it includes the network card, it includes the ITE node, okay, with 12 months subscription effectively, and the customer can buy with one SKU effectively the whole package, and that gets you going. So you don't have to worry too much around, what SKUs you have to add. Again, Dicker have got all of that information, and they can make that available through that one SKU for the customer.
It's a really good try and buy to see what IT Expert can offer you and really get you into that environment to see if it's suitable for what might be required.
Yeah. The other part to that is that it's an entry point for recurring revenue for partners as well, and MSPs. Okay, the first 12 months is covered with the bundle, okay, and then from there what you can do is you can extend, for years, that you can buy more of that subscription, and it gives then a revenue stream again back to the partner and to the MSP. So we cover off a little bit about the bundle itself. I've tried to also give you some coverage around the recurring revenue. One of the things that we also want to talk about or just highlight is the ability now for us to also add more of the higher performance type of UPSs, and they're typically targeted towards the enterprise environment. Okay, so where a customer like a healthcare, a hospital environment, okay, we can now make available lithium ion. And those type of UPSs and those types of customers are typically looking at a longevity. There's more cost obviously to a lithium ion, but it's going to give you twice as much of the longevity. Okay? So you don't necessarily need to have a recycle of a battery in the middle of the life of the UPS. Okay? That's a huge saving to the customer. The other part is that lithium ion is about half the weight. So when we start to look at half the weight, it makes it easier to deploy. Yeah. It will give you probably double the amount of runtime within the same form factor. There is added costs, but overall, the longevity that you get will save you the cost that basically is going to come from the deployment of that type of environment.
Yeah, because you're getting, like you're right, it does command a price premium, but you're getting 5-year warranty instead of 3-year warranty. You're getting a 10-year lifespan of the battery rather than 5 years. The weight savings, all of that, it does make a lot of sense, so that you don't need to charge your customer for that mid-life cycle.
And that save that. It's not only the cost of the battery cycle. What we've found is that customers have an internal cost as well that we don't necessarily see. To do a refresh in the middle of the life cycle of a UPS means that there's a lot of costs that, from a project management point of view, their people as well doing that asset management. So what we want to do is reach out. I know that we're pretty close to coming on time. Okay, what we wanted to do was to make sure that we get some feedback from the people which are on the webinar.
Yep.
Now's the time, I suppose, a good time to maybe get some feedback.
Let's see if we've gotten
get some questions, etc., etc. So what I'll do is give you an outline of the key takeaways that we're that I see effectively as part of the session. But please reach out, get us some questions so we can try and address those for you. So ultimately, the key takeaways to think about here is we are talking about management of critical IT infrastructure, power and cooling, the environmentals effectively of that environment are really, really important in today's ever-changing digital world. Yeah. The other thing is that we've simplified the access to these bundles. So we've included hardware, the software, the subscription effectively in that EcoStruxure ITE bundle, which is very much available from Distributor. Okay. The bundle basically brings together the UPS, and depending on the capacity that you need on the UPS, there's different types of SKUs effectively, and the UPS changes. But we include the network management card and also the subscription. Okay. The alternative to that is obviously more the Smart Connect type of UPS. Again, and we've given you the differentiators of where to target those ones. We have also more information on the Distributor website of the bundle itself, or reach out to the pre-sales team at Dicker to effectively get more information around that. The other thing that we have got is within our Schneider team, obviously I lead more the sales environment within the Schneider team. However, we do presentations for partners, also for customers, and we can go through that detail and give them more visibility of the IT portal itself and drill down into that as needed.
Yeah, go into a lot more technical detail.
Absolutely.
It's a very technical product sometimes if you really go into it. So yeah, definitely if there are any partners on the line that would like a more of a deep dive, have a look at what the platform looks like, get a feel of the nuts and bolts and what it can offer without purchasing initially.
Sure.
We do have options to show you guys what it looks like. So taking a quick look at some questions. I think we've covered this one a little bit from an MSP saying, what have you found relevant for our market? I know you've mentioned recurring revenue.
Yeah.
What else from the MSP side of things?
Yeah, look, what we've found in going to market to the MSPs, the MSPs have typically targeted the compute and application environment. Okay? Specialists in maybe business processes, applications which suit effectively end users and deploy, go through that deployment process around application. And that's really a high level effectively within the MSP environment. The next level down effectively with MSPs are typically more around infrastructure, okay? Compute, network, storage, and the management effectively, the monitoring effectively of those types of platforms. What the MSPs have missed out on, excuse me, is addressing the critical infrastructure, okay? Because they haven't had the skills, or they haven't had it just hasn't been a main priority for them. So what this does is...
Sometimes UPSs are kind of these set and forget kind
Exactly,
of thing.
that's right. So what this does is it makes it a lot simpler for an MSP to get involved in that critical infrastructure. And why leave food on the table? Okay? So this is a low-cost entry. You don't need to necessarily have the skills in critical infrastructure. You can pick how much of this you want to actually use within your environment. You may just want to use the tool as the monitoring platform. And you may want us to do more the managed environment and the NOC, so we can monitor the environment 24/7. Or you may want us to do also the servicing. So depending on how much of that the MSP wants to be involved in, they can choose that. And of course there's recurring revenue that is always attached to this. They can also build a platform really around the critical infrastructure moving into the future, which today they probably didn't have any visibility of.
Yeah. Got another one here. Will there be local government education pricing? I'm assuming that the standard APC deal reg process would
if you go through the deal reg process, first of all, our pricing is very much around a recurring revenue basis in IT Expert. Okay, it comes in 12 months, 3 years, up to 5 years, and you can bundle those to get 2, 3, and 4 years, etc., etc. You do have the ability to all of the approach that we've had previously, which is around ORP. So depending on quantity, you've got quantity breaks that you can use, and ORP will give you also the government pricing aspect or discounts around that.
Without naming names maybe, what customers have you found are interested in the IT Expert platform?
Yeah, look, we've covered that a little bit during the course of the presentation.
That's what I was saying, like, without naming names, have you seen any big wins or something that you can kind of go?
Look, the key ones that we've seen are the driving of this edge environment. Okay, so customers which are driving edge, and be more specific around healthcare, telemedicine. They've got hospitals effectively which are have had limited staff, okay, over the course of the pandemic. They're a perfect candidate in this environment. Local government, okay, education are other ones, and retail. So the environments where there are lots and lots of UPSs, okay, with remote sites, the cloud environment really is a huge advantage for those particular types of customers. So that's really where we've seen the uptake.
Yeah, I can totally understand the retail thing. Like, you don't have at every single Coles or Woolworths, you don't have an IT guy sitting in the back closet waiting for something. You stick something, a UPS that monitors back to head office saying, we need help.
Yeah, and don't just think about the Coles and the Woolies when we start to think about it. Yeah, let's say we've got two or three, maybe 4 major supermarkets that we have in Australia. When we start to look at high-end retail, right, that's where our ladies are basically walking into a store, okay, and they can basically stand in front of a monitor, okay, and try on effectively a virtual dresses, different colours, etc., etc. If you've got a customer which is in that high-end retail and using compute and also maybe security environments, these are critical environments that they've got lots and lots of stores, yeah, and they don't have huge IT departments. Okay, again, the cloud platform allows us to put in critical infrastructure monitoring and making sure that any of that compute that they're using today can be monitored, and we save them an outage effectively, which is a huge advantage.
I think I'm not seeing anything else rolling in. But look, if anybody has got any further questions, comments, needs a bit more information, would like to see a little bit more in depth of what IT Expert and the whole APC software side of things can offer them, please reach out to Distributor. We'll definitely get in touch with you. And if required, we'll get in touch with George and his team to go through any specifics that are required. So, George, very useful, very insightful, lots of opportunities. Oh, hang on, I've got some more. We did have a competition that was going on. We will get back to whoever wins that one after the event.
Sure.
George, thank you for your insights. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and yeah, till next time.
Yeah, I'd like to say thank you as well, Bolus, for hosting the event. We're more than interested really to support the partners, MSPs. Obviously, you're very much an APC distributor from that point, and we want to support the growth in this environment and support the partners and yourself and the people at Distributor as much as possible.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.